Hello, you guys. Let's start chapter 7, 7.1, percents and fractions. So, vocabulary, percent. If you tear the word apart, per means per, and cent means 100. So we're just going to write numbers out of 100. All right, and then take a look here, writing percents. See this square? It's a 10 by 10 square, so there's 100 little squares, and they shaded in 85 of them. So we would write that as 85 out of 100, or 85%. And so in algebra, p over 100, any number over 100 gives us that percent. Okay, so take a look at example 1. Write 31% and 60% as fractions in simplest form. So if you can simplify, you must simplify. So look at A, 31% just means 31 out of 100, and we can't reduce or simplify, so that's our final answer. And then for B, 60% would be 60 out of 100. We could divide both the top and the bottom by 20 to give us 3 out of 5. Okay, and then write 3 over 10 as a percent and 4 over 5 as a percent. Well, if I want to just change 3 over 10 into a percent, I would just say, what could I do to the 10 to make it become 100? If I multiply by 10, I have to do that on the top as well. So 3 times 10 would give us 30 over 100, and that would be 30%. And then 4 over 5, the same thing. What could I do to the 5 to make it become 100? I would just multiply by 20. So 4 times 20 would give me 80, 5 times 20 gives me 100, so that would be 80%. All right, so take a look at the checkpoint. They want us to write the percents as fractions in simplest form, or write the fraction as a percent. So take a look at 1. They started us off with 73%. Well, I know that just means 73 out of 100, and there's nothing I can do to reduce it or simplify it, so I'm done. Take a look at number 2, 40%. That just means 40 over 100, and then I divided both the numerator and denominator by 20 to simplify, so that gave me 2 over 5. Now, on number 3, they start me with a fraction, so I have to change it into a percentage. So look at the denominator, the 10, and just say, what could you do to the 10 to make it become 100? You would multiply by 10. So multiply the top and the bottom by 10. That gives you 90 over 100, which is 90%. And then for 4 over 25, you would multiply 25 by 4 to make it become 100. So just multiply the top by 4 to make it 16. So it's 16 over 100, which is 16%. Okay, take a look at example 2. It's probability as a percent. So a computer randomly generates an integer from 1 to 10. Find the probability that 8 is the integer generated. So there are 10 possible numbers that could happen, 1 through 10. But there's only one that we want, the number 8. So that I would write the probability of picking 8 is 1 out of 10. So if I want to change that to a percentage, I just have to change the denominator to 100. So I'm going to multiply the denominator and the numerator by 10 to give me 10 over 100, which is just 10%. Okay, so take a look at the checkpoint. A computer randomly generates an integer from 1 to 10. Find the probability of the given event. Write your answer as a percent. So I want to know the probability of the computer picking the number 2. Well, remember, there's 10 possible outcomes, so you put that on the bottom, the total things that could happen. But since we want the number 2, there's only one number that we want. So 1 out of 10 would just become 10 out of 100, and that would be 10%. Now look at number 6. What's the probability that the computer will give us a prime number? Well, the first thing we have to do is figure out how many of the numbers are prime. So I would list 1 to 10 and then circle the ones that are prime. Now 1 is not considered a prime number because it only has one factor. A prime number must have 2 distinct factors, 1 and itself. So we have to cross out 1. 2 is a prime, 3 is a prime, 4 is composite, so cross it off. 5 is a prime, so circle it. 6 is composite. 7 is a prime, so circle that. And 8, 9, and 10 are all composite. So I see that there's only 1, 2, 3, 4 prime numbers out of a possible 10. So put 4 out of a possible 10, and then we want to make the denominator 100 to make it a percent, so multiply both the numerator and denominator by 10. That gives me 40 out of 100, which is just 40%. All right, so take a look at example 3. In a survey of 85 people, 20% of them said they usually eat crackers with their soup. How many people in the survey said they usually eat crackers with soup? So we really have to figure out what 20% of the total 85 is. And so let's use the fact that 20% would mean 20 out of 100, and if we reduce that, divided both by 20, we would get 1 out of 5. And then we're going to multiply. So let's change the 20% to 1 over 5. The of in algebra means multiply. And let's write 85 like a fraction, 85 over 1. And then look at the 5 and the 85. We can cross cancel or simplify. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 85 17 times. So that gives us 17. So we would answer that 17 people said they usually eat crackers with their soup. Okay, take a look at number 7. They want us to find the percent of the number. All right, so what is 30% of 80? Well, let's change 30% to a fraction. And I showed you over here, 30 over 100, you would reduce, divide both by 10, and get 3 over 10. So let's change 30% to 3 over 10. The of becomes multiply. And let's write 80 as a fraction, 80 over 1. And then we can cross cancel the 10 and the 80. The 10 becomes a 1, and the 80 becomes an 8. So 3 times 8 gives you 24. 1 times 1 gives you 1. 24 over 1 is just 24. Take a look at number 8, 60%. Well, to change 60% to a fraction, it's 60 over 100, and then you would reduce to get 3 over 5. So change 60% to 3 over 5. The of becomes multiplication, and put 105 as a fraction, 105 over 1. And then cross cancel the 5 and the 105. That becomes a 1 and a 21. So 3 times 21 would give you 63. 1 times 1 gives you 1. So 63 over 1 is just 63.